Good day. It's May 6, 2024 in Las Vegas, Nevada. College campuses in many parts of the U.S. protested against Israel over the Gaza atrocities against civilians. I'm Sarah Obal. Welcome to The Pulse.
And I'm Joe Buban. Welcome to this week's edition of The Pulse.
In a report from CNN and Los Angeles Times, pro-Palestinian and pro-Israeli protesters clashed in Los Angeles on the campus of the University of California, Los Angeles, on Wednesday in the latest level of demonstrations against the Israel-Hamas war that have spread to college campuses nationwide. There were already barricades along the campus, and the police have staged their officers and troops to safeguard and protect protesters to any kind of violence that may happen. California Highway Patrol, LAPD, pile up the scene wearing riot helmets, carrying non-lethal weapons with flex cuffs or zip ties as protesters continue to assemble in the place, chanting and waiting for the president that he will go into the campus at a valid time. Meanwhile, California Governor Gavin Newsom mentioned that he criticized the security response to this encampment. UCLA campus had a very light or not so violent presence. Few college security officers, but all of a sudden, pro-Israeli demonstrators charging at the barricades at the camp. There were fireworks, chemical sprays, door assaults, which we can say so demeaning to see according to a footage from CNN News. UCLA declares unlawful assembly as 4 UCLA student journalists were attacked by pro-Israel counter-protesters on campus at around 3 a.m. Wednesday last week. During this campus demonstration, which turned violent. UCLA president will launch a thorough investigation after this violent night in UCLA, where classes have been suspended.
In Manhattan, New York, Judge Juan Merchan rendered decision on Trump's gag order violation. Presumptive GOP nominee Donald Trump has been held in contempt of the court as he violated the court's gag order 9 times and now being fined $9,000, which aimed at protecting witnesses, jurors in his Manhattan criminal trial. Judge Juan Merchan held another hearing on Thursday last week regarding 4 additional Trump posts brought up by the prosecution last week. Weeks before the start of the trial, Merchan issued a gag order for Trump basically hinders him from making or controlling others to create comments publicly against jurors, court staff, or family members of court staff, and alike. However, last week, Trump had an interaction going against Michael Cohen in the courthouse hallway as he left after the trial. Former President Trump has been accused of 34 violation counts of falsifying accounting records of his businesses on the hush money payment to porn star Stormy Daniels, with his intent to bury the story during the 2016 presidential election. He pleaded not guilty from all these allegations. Several witnesses, including former National Enquirer publisher David Pecker, First Republic banker Gary Farrow, and longtime Trump executive assistant Ronna Graff, has been heard by the jury. Trump tried to fight for this gag order as he tried to attempt to delay the trial, but failed. He even argued that his order is, quote-unquote, unconstitutional, as this limits his political speech while campaigning for the next presidential elections. In a little-known defamation case, a judge dismisses Capitol protesters' $100 million CNN lawsuit as reported by Newsweek magazine. A Virginia man who tendered around the Capitol building after the January 6, 2021 riot has lost his $100 million lawsuit against CNN, the cable news network. An appointee of ex-President Barack Obama, Virginia federal judge Arenda Wright Allen had dismissed this case last Monday before it reached trial. This man, Jacob Hiles, a charter boat captain from Virginia Beach, allegedly accused CNN of defaming him in an online article previously published on October 15 of 2021, stating about rioters at the Capitol building, disputing that the CNN article's subheading and contents were defamatory to his reputation because it falsely accused him of engaging to some illegal and criminal activities from which no record shows that he was charged or convicted to any criminal court directly or indirectly. We're going to take a commercial break. Please stay with us.
Pure Medical Equipment provides top-notch quality medical supply equipment. Whether to rent or buy, Pure Medical Equipment and Supplies has it all.
Pure Medical Equipment is committed to serve and give back to Southern Nevada.
We deliver medical supplies and rentals to your door.
Back to the Pulse. Is the Republican Party planning a good fight again this year to try to unseat a Democratic seat in the House of Representatives? An article from the Nevada Independent reveals that after Democrats hold on to all 3 Las Vegas-based House seats for 2 consecutive election cycles, Republican Party again took aim at pivoting the seats in 2022, with one key GOP PAC pouring more money into the districts of Representative Susie Lee and Representative Dina Titus than any other in the country. But while Republicans ultimately did win the House with a net gain of 9 seats, the path to the gavel did not run through Las Vegas. Lee won re-election by 4 percentage points, Representative Stephen Horsford by nearly 5, and Titus by more than 5, despite even our boss, Nevada's Nostradamus John Ralston, predicting Lee would lose her seat.
According to a report from the Associated Press, Mali claims it killed an extremist commander who participated in one of the biggest attacks on U.S. military in Africa. A senior Islamic State group commander wanted in connection with one of the bloodiest attacks on U.S. personnel in Africa was killed in an operation carried out by Mali's security forces, according to the army. Abu Hazaifa, alias Higo, was a commander in the Islamic State of the Greater Sahara. The U.S. State Department offered a reward of up to $5 million for information regarding him. Huzaifa is thought to have helped carry out the 2017 attack on the U.S. and Nigerian forces in Tongo, Niger.
Key aspects of the International Court of Justice verdict in the Israel genocide case. Reuters reported key aspects of an International Court of Justice verdict on Israel. The ICJ has ordered Israel to stop genocide against Palestinians and do more to assist civilians in Gaza. However, it did not order the truce that South Africa had demanded when the case was submitted to The Hague. While this dashed Palestinian expectations for a binding order to end the conflict in Gaza, it also dealt Israel a legal defeat, as it had intended to dismiss the case. The International Court of Justice, often known as the World Court, ordered Israel to take all precautions possible to prevent genocide while fighting Hamas militants in Gaza.
In a report from BBC, the Pentagon plans to rush Patriot air defense missiles and artillery ammo to Ukraine as part of a new military aid package. However, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin confirmed that Patriot missile launch systems will not be sent. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky stated that Patriots were urgently required to confront a growing Russian aviation threat that they can and should save lives right now. On Saturday, Ukraine claimed that Russia had launched another huge air attack. Authorities in Kharkiv said that a hospital has been damaged.
Less than a month after the Arizona State Supreme Court upheld a 1864 abortion ban that criminalizes abortion of all kinds without exception within the state legislature of Arizona passed a bill that repealed the 1864 law. The new law that repealed the 1864 abortion ban was immediately signed into law by Democratic Governor Katie Hobbs. That ancient law of 1864 was on the books, even before Arizona became a state, when it was just the Arizona Territory of the Union. The state Supreme Court decision outraged a majority of women in Arizona, such that even senatorial candidate Carrie Lake denounced the decision. In several other states, like Florida, which is the only state by far that practically banned all kinds of abortion, the voters were outraged of this draconian law that is described as ruthless and an assault in the fundamental rights of women. The voters are fighting back. As special elections for state offices, Republicans are suffering defeat after defeat as a backlash for anti-abortion laws that had been adopted in Republican-controlled state legislators. Many political analysts and observers are estimating that many Republicans will lose their seats by November election, even in traditionally red states. The return of control of the House of Representatives by Democrats hinges on this one big issue, which is reproductive freedom for women. Most Republican candidates for the lower chamber of Congress and the U.S. Senate are intentionally staying away from the subject of abortion as they know that it is a losing platform for them. As it is now, the Republicans only now have one vote majority in the House. The smallest vote margin to pass a bill has never been seen in the history of Congress.
On national security matters, the U.S. to withdraw soldiers from Chad and Niger as African governments question its counterterrorism missions, according to a report from the Associated Press. The United States will withdraw the majority of its troops from Chad and Niger as it seeks to restore crucial accords governing the use of American military and counterterrorism activities. Both African countries have been critical of the U.S. military's effort to combat violent extremist groups in the Sahel area, but Niger's ruling junta terminated a deal last month that allowed the U.S. forces to operate in the West African country. In recent days, neighboring Chad has questioned whether an existing agreement included U.S. troops stationed there. For the time being, the United States will move the majority of approximately 100 personnel stationed in Chad, according to the Pentagon Press Secretary Major General Pat Ryder during a press briefing Thursday. As talks with Chadian officials continue, U.S. Africa Command, or AFRICOM, is preparing to deploy some U.S. military soldiers from Chad, some of which were previously set to leave. This is a temporary step in the continuing evaluation of our security cooperation, which will continue following Chad's presidential election on May 6th, Ryder said. U.S. and Nigerian officials were scheduled to meet on Thursday in Niamey, Niger's capital, to begin discussion on an orderly, responsible withdrawal of U.S. forces, according to a State Department statement released last Wednesday. These treaties, known as Status of Forces Agreements, led the United States to conduct the crucial counterterrorism operations within both countries' borders while also supporting military partner training. The reversals have raised concerns that the United States' influence in Africa is dwindling as Russia and China make inroads. Both countries decide the U.S. cannot stay, the military will have to seek for other ways to execute counterterrorism missions in the Sahel region.
Philippine former Vice President Leni Robredo made a stop in Las Vegas over the weekend. The popular former vice president, who ran for presidency of the Philippines but lost to Bongbong Marcos, has stayed away from politics, perhaps at least for now, and had been touring worldwide to be in touch with Filipinos abroad, while also promoting her book, her campaign memoir. Here are some footages from that visit from our Philam TV producer, Joseph Buban.
If you look at our budget, pang-sweldo lang siya ng empleyado. Pang-sweldo siya and operations of the office. We do not even have an office of our own, so we rent. So talagang yung pinaka-budget namin yun lang. But I said, we need to find ways that will allow us to do the things that we want to do. That was when we thought of launching Angat Buhay.
We are going to a commercial break. Please stay tuned for our interview with Jovan Jackson, candidate for Nevada Assembly District 6. Please stay tuned.
Pure Medical Equipment provides top-notch quality medical supply equipment. Whether to rent or buy, Pure Medical Equipment and Supplies has it all.
Pure Medical Equipment is committed to serve and give back to Southern Nevada.
We deliver medical supplies and rentals to your door.
Welcome back to The Pulse. With us now here at the studios is Jovan Jackson, who is running for a seat in the Nevada State Assembly District 6 in the Democratic primary election.
Welcome, Jovan, to The Pulse. We're so grateful to have you here today. Jovan, so you're running for Assembly District 6. Where exactly is that?
So Assembly District 6 has the heart of historic West Side, so that's 89106. It also has 89030, and that is what I like to call Old Northtown. So that's Civic Center area, near the College of Southern Nevada, near the outdoor swap meet. We have all that area going all the way up to Lorenzi Park. So that's 89107. And we also have 89032. So if you live in that area, more than likely you are in Assembly District 6.
Nevada Assembly District 6 is currently represented by Assemblywoman Sandra Summerstrong, also a Democrat.
Yes.
Is this an open seat or what is happening?
So it is an open seat. Chandra has decided to run for city council. She has always had aspirations of being a council member. So she's chasing her dreams. And so it is an open seat. And this seat has not been endorsed by the Democratic caucus. So it's really up for the people to decide who they want in this seat.
So before we go into policy questions, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay. My name is Jovan Jackson. I'm born and raised in Las Vegas. This has always been my home, but I come from a very diverse background. My mother is from New York, and my father is from the South. I come from a very diverse family. I have white siblings, I have black siblings. I'm actually biracial myself. I'm Italian American and Black American. I grew up in the northeast side of the valley, so northeast Las Vegas. I graduated from Desert Pines High School and I attended the magnet program there. We actually did stuff like this in our magnet program. We had a studio. And then after high school, I immediately got into entrepreneurship and mental health services. I got my first career in mental health as a rehabilitation worker, doing basic skills training. And then from there, I was actually able to open my own mental health agency, and I did that for about 11 years, provided mental health services and ran a mental health agency. During that time period, I did have, I started a business at 19. And you're still a young man, and you face young men problems. So I fell into substance abuse, and this was at about the age 22, and I had a mental breakdown from substance abuse, and I ended up being around people that I shouldn't have been around, and it led to me being incarcerated for a conspiracy of a violent crime, and I had to go to prison for a couple years, but I was able to rehabilitate when I got out. While during my incarceration, I served as a wildlife firefighter. After my incarceration, I realized that there's a community that's impacted and that's vulnerable and that needs advocacy. And I always worked in the mental health field, but I never understood the true issues that they faced until I had my own personal experiences.
It's a very wonderful story, Mr. Jovan. And you talked about your background, and especially with if I'm not mistaken, that you were falsely accused, as you were saying.
No, I wasn't falsely accused. I was around the wrong folks. So if give you the details of it, I was released from a mental hospital because I was, homicidal. I mean, not homicidal, suicidal, and I didn't want to live no more. I was hopeless. My brother was just discharged from the Army as a Ranger. And, as an Army Ranger, you're only trained to do a few things.
Yes.
They teach our young men how to, be professional killers. And so from there, he wanted to go on a robbery. And at the time, I didn't want to live anymore. So I was just like, the worst thing that could happen to me is I could be killed or incarcerated for the rest of my life. So I went with him, but I couldn't go forward with it. So I just stayed in the car, and I told him, I said, I can't do this. I can't do this. And he went ahead with the robbery, and we both ended up getting arrested. And we were both charged with the robbery. And we both did a 2 to 5. So I did 2 years in prison, and then I was on parole. And so yeah, that's what happened.
Yes, and we need the changes within the system, because there's a lot of laws that bar people from running for office or voting because of their incarcerated background.
Yes.
And if I'm not very mistaken, Nevada now just passed a new law of this felony voting, or voting from prison, if I'm saying it correctly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in 2019, there was a law that was created to allow people who are formerly incarcerated to have the right to vote. Most states, if you have a felony on your record, you're not able to vote. But in the state of Nevada, if you went to prison, you did your time, and now you're back into society, you could vote.
So what issues in Nevada concern you the most?
I want to say affordable housing. Being born and raised out here, I have seen affordable housing goes from something being very cheap and affordable to a lot of locals are being priced out, and they don't feel like they are welcome in the city that they grew up in.
If you get elected in the general election, what's on top of your list when you submit a bill in the state assembly?
So definitely affordable housing. There's a few ways to produce affordable housing. I want to rezone areas to where we could have more walkable cities, walkable towns, so we could build up. So less building out, more building up, less spaces for cars, so people they could walk to where they need to go. Also, we have an issue here in Las Vegas, Nevada, where we have corporate landlords coming in buying hundreds of homes.
Yes.
And that manipulates our market system.
Yes.
So because there's not enough homes on the market, because you literally have an investor coming in buying 500 homes, and now there's not availability, so now we could put the rent up, anything that you want. So definitely want to regulate corporate landlords. And my grandparents were landlords in the 70s and 80s out here, and there's a difference between building generational wealth for your family and being a greedy corporation.
Yes.
And I truly believe in the free market system, but I feel like we need to protect the most essential things in our country, and that's our home.
Thank you. And to add up to that, when you said about walkable neighborhoods, I do agree with that, because now that the Southern Nevada population is growing, I think it's not relevant anymore of driving around else anywhere, and that we're now building subdivision after subdivision.
Yeah.
And I think what we need outlets and complexes that are very walkable, that is easy to access from one place to another. And before the pandemic, the RTC buses were so lots of everywhere, I think. And then now that the pandemic ended and everybody went to their other different fields, and there's less priority for buses now than before, if I'm not mistaken.
So lastly, Jovan, any last words from you? What do you want to say to your voters?
Get out and vote. It's important that we vote in this primary election, June. A lot of folks wait until November to vote, but if you wait until November, it may be too late. The person that you want to be in office may not make it past the primary election. So I just want everyone to get out and vote. That's it. That's the number one thing. If you want to keep our officials accountable, go vote. Go vote this June. Maybe one more thing. If you want to learn more about me, you could visit www.jovanjackson.com. Jovan is Jovan, so www.jovanjackson.com. I'm gonna keep doing the work in the community regardless of the outcome of this election, and that's what type of people that we need in office, that who's gonna care regardless of their title or position or prestige.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jovan Jackson. Well, folks, we are out of time. Please join us next week on The Pulse. I'm Joe Buban.
And I am Sarah Obal. Thank you for watching. God bless your week.